All right, looking at 2.4, trends, interpolation, extrapolation. Now, a pattern in data often indicates a trend. Graphs can help you recognize trends in a set of data. If there is a trend, then you can use it to predict values of the variables, such as, looking at this particular example right here, you will see that the data is moving in an upwards trend. There is a trend in the data that indicates that there is an upward trend. In other words, we can say as the independent variable x increases, the dependent variable y increases as well. Let's look at another trend in data. Looking at these dots here, we can see that these dots display a downward trend. Downward trend. Downward trend means that we're looking at as the independent variable x increases, the dependent variable y decreases. So that's a downward trend. Finally, the last one, we have a bunch of random dots which indicate no trend at all. So another way to say all of this is that this is a positive correlation, negative correlation, and no correlation at all. Okay, moving on. To predict values, you can use interpolation to estimate a value between two measurements in a set of data, and extrapolation to estimate a value beyond the range of a set of data. So, when we are interpolating, we are reading inside, so estimating between two measurements in a set of data, or inside. Interpolation is to go into the graph, inside the graph. Extrapolation, the word extra, means to estimate beyond the range of the set of data, so we probably have to look beyond the set. That means we have to draw extra to be able to figure out what's going on. So the best way to do this, folks, is through an example. So let's look at an example number 1. Determine from the graph the following data and state how you determine the data. So here's our graph right here, folks. So it's something to do with your French mark and a German mark. Part A asks you, well, if you know that the German mark is 50, what is the French mark? That's what we need to know. And then we also need to determine what method is used to get that answer. So we find the German mark of 50, go across until we hit the graph, the line of best fit. Notice there's no dot there. We go down and we determine that a mark of 50 means that your French mark will also be 50. So your French mark is 50 when your German mark is 50. What method did we use? Well, again, I'm going to show you using a line. So we want to show our work. The best way to do that is show a line in the trend of data. So we're going to just use a green line to determine that. So at 50, we draw a line going across. We hit our line of best fit. We go down, and that shows that our mark of 50 shows a trend in the data of a mark of 50 going down. So 50 across is 50 down. What method did we use? Well, folks, we used interpolation because we read inside the graph to get our data. So we used interpolation to get our information. Okay, next. Let's say you have a French mark of 90. We want to know what your German mark will be and what method was used. So again, we want to know at 90, when we look across at 90, going across, we notice our graph does not come all the way across. So what should we do? Well, we should extend this line, this orange line, we should extend it to go beyond. So we're going to extend the line. Okay, we have to draw an extension to this line. So really important, folks, that you draw this extension. Let's just do it accurately as possible. Okay, so we draw it as best as possible, and we see that the line can be extended that way. Once we've extended that line, we can now draw our horizontal line. Let's do that in purple, folks. So we go across from 90 on the French mark. So it's starting at 90, going at the French mark. We start going up at that point. Just a second. We start at 90 and go up to the line, roughly there. And then we're going to go across. And what kind of mark will that be? That might be about anywhere between, I would say about 93%, more or less. So at about 93 would be the German mark if your French mark is 90. So we estimate this value in here, and we say that the German mark will be about 93. What did we use what method did we use to determine this data? Well, we had to draw extra on the graph. Therefore, the type of method this is extrapolation, because we had to draw extra on the graph to be able to determine the data that we needed. So we had to draw extra, so therefore, that was extrapolation. All right, well, that's the end of the lesson, folks. Have a numerical day.